Understand you soon, it won't be long. Keep on, keep running. Running and running.
Hi guys, so we're just going to look at standard form. This is the first lesson on standard form, and we're going to just convert between standard form and normal ordinary numbers. Now, on the instruction at the top of the screen there, you can see in the standard form that it is written in two parts. We've got the A at the front, which can be any number, but it has to be between 1 and less than 10. Right, so it can go from 1 all the way up to 9.999 recurring. Okay, so but it can't go into the two figures. It can't go into 10. So it's going to be between 1 and 10. That's a key thing to remember. Okay, and then we're going to multiply that by 10 raised to any power. So it depends on what the number is, depends on what power we raise it to. Okay, so if we're thinking about this in relation to a number, let's say we've got 6 and we're going to raise this to 10 to the power of 3. Okay, so for instance, we've now given a value to A, so my A equals 6, okay, and my N equals 3. So we've got the two values that we've filled in on this question. If I wanted to work this out, we could then calculate that 10 to the power of 3 is 1,000, and if I multiply that by 6, that's going to equal, if it asks me to evaluate, I'm going to solve that to say that equals 6,000. 6 times 1,000 gives me 6,000. Okay. Now hopefully by the time we finish this lesson, this tutorial, it will become clear how we get to that 6,000 value. So we've got two numbers to start off with. Okay, we've got 360,000 and we've got 0.000036. So let's look at the larger one first. At the minute, we don't write this, but at the minute our decimal point is just sitting after that last 0. So that's where my decimal point sits in this number at the minute. Okay, and again, like I say, if it's a whole number, we don't write the decimal point. But we need to convert this into standard form, and we know that standard form, that first number has to be between 1 and 10. So if we wanted to make the number that we've got at the front there, 360,000, between 1 and 10, where would I put the decimal point? I would literally put it just in there. So my number all of a sudden becomes 3.6. Ignore the zeros after it. Okay, so we could make that 3.6. Now, if you think about where that decimal point came from before we started this, the decimal point was right at the end. So how many spaces have we actually moved that? Okay, and remember we're making this bigger, so we're going to go from where we've put the dot, okay, the decimal point, we're going to go back out to the number. And remember, if you think about it, we're going positive, negative, so we're going to go towards the positive. Okay, so this is going to be a positive value when we're doing this. So it's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 jumps, 5 spaces. Okay, it's going to move 5 places. So my answer for this one would be times 10, that doesn't change, and we're looking to put a value of 10 to the power of, and it's jumped 5 times. So 3.6 times 10 to the power of 5. Now remember, the key thing to remember on this is once I've put the decimal point in just there, which way am I moving to bounce my decimal point back to the original number? And I'm moving this direction. So we're going this way, so that's going to give me a positive power. Okay, how do I make that, reconcile that, and make sense of that? Remember, 10 to the power of 5 would be 10,000. 100,000 would be 100,000. Okay, so if I did 3.6 times 100,000, I'm back to 360,000 where I started. So it's very easy to check whether you've got a positive or a negative value. Okay, So my answer for this one would be 3.6 times 10 to the power of 5. Let's have a look at some positive values. Now again, if we use the same rule of thumb, if I put my decimal between the 2 and the 5, I end up with 2.5. How many spaces am I bouncing it back out? 1, 2. So it's times 10 to the power of 2. Next one. Put it between the two 1s. That gives me 1.1. Again, how many spaces am I bouncing it out? 1, 2, 3. So I've bounced it 3 spaces, 10 to the power of 3. Okay, if you want to pause the video and have a go at the next 3, and then you can start up and check the answers. Okay, hopefully you've had a go, and you've got 3.3, and we're bouncing it again 2 spaces, so times 10 to the power of 2. D. 4.8. How many spaces do we need to bounce that decimal point out? 1, 2, 3, 4. Times 10 to the power of 4. And the last one, between the 5 and the 9, so 5.9. And it's times 10. How many times are we bouncing this out? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Times 10 to the power of 6. So if we've got massive numbers or we've got really small numbers, it's easier to write it in the form of standard form. Okay, which is why we use it. Okay, let's have a look at some smaller numbers now. Go back up to the example. This time, again, we've got 0.000036. Same principle, I want to make it between 1 and 10. The only way I'm going to make this between 1 and 10 is putting a little dot in here. So my number is going to be 3.6. Now, and this is where hopefully this makes sense, and my logical way of thinking about it is that, remember, we've got our number line, we've got positive going that way, we've got negative going that way. So because I'm now bouncing this decimal point back to where it came from, I'm heading towards the negative. Okay, so this is going to be a negative power. Okay, so it's going to be times 10 to the negative. How many times am I going to move it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it moves 5 places, so it's times 10 to the negative 5. Have a go at the questions below. Again, if you want to have a pause of the video and give them a try. Okay. Alternatively, I'll do a couple, then pause the video, and then check through the answers. Okay, if I've got more than one value, more than 2 digits, all to now we've had 2 digits, 2.5, 1.1, 3.3, and so on. We've got 3 digits here, so I'm going to still make it between 1 and 10, and the only way to do that is to make it 3.75. So you can see where my decimal point is fitted in here, how many places to bounce. I'm just going back 1 step, so times 10, remember it's to the negative, and I've gone 1 step. G, I'm going to make it 7.8. I know it's going to be times 10 going this way, bouncing it back out to the negative. How many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Times 10 to the negative 5. The next one, 7.07. Now if I'm going to put a decimal point there, between the 7 and the 0, that is between 1 and 10, but I don't need to put 7.070. If I was writing that as a decimal, I wouldn't need to put this last placeholder. So 7.07 is my number. How many spaces have I bounced it out? 1, 2. Okay, so I bounced it 1, 2 spaces, so times 10 to the negative 2. 2 more to do. 2 and 1, 2.1. Remember, I'm going to bounce it out to the left, so that's going to be times 10 to the negative. How many spaces? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spaces. So that's going to be times 10 to the power of negative 7. And the last one here, you can see we've got 5002 if I look at that as just as a number, if we just look at this bit here. Okay. Now I can't make that between 1 any other way, 1 and 10, other than putting it just after the 5. Okay, just there. So that's going to be 5.002. I've got to put the whole number this time. Okay, you keep going until you've used all of the digits that are not zeros up. Remember, we're bouncing it out to the left, times 10 to the negative. And how many spaces are we bouncing at? 1, 2, 3, 4. Times 10 to the negative 4. Okay, so that's converting between normal numbers into standard form, both with positive and negative standard form values, power values. Let's look at doing the other way around. We've got standard form and we're going to convert it into ordinary numbers. So before we get started, I'm going to look at this and I'm going to say this is 3.5. And remember, if we look at 10 to the power of 3, that's like saying 1000. And we're going to multiply those two things together. And if we did that 3.5 times 1000 would be 3,500. So we could mathematically calculate that if I knew what 10 cubed was. 10 cubed is 1000. Times that by 3.5 is going to give me 3,500. Now let's just do the reverse of what we've done on the last page. Now remember, if I'm making it bigger, positive value, my decimal point's going this way to the positive. If it's a negative value, it's going this way to the negative. So put my McDonald's arches in. 1, 2, 3. Put my decimal point at the end. Fill in the placeholders with zeros. And you can see I now have 3,500. Remember, that decimal point has to move. Okay, it's not 3.500. Okay, because that would still be 3.5. So it's 3,500. Okay, on to B. When I've got a negative value, I've got 4.67. And again, remember, my decimal point is going to be moving to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's where it's going to be now. So we'll rub that one out because it's just moved. Remember to fill the place values in, placeholders. 3, 4. Okay, now remember, anything that starts with a point and it's not a whole number, okay, needs to have a 0 point. Okay, so 0.00000467. Okay. Now, key thing, misconception is quite important in this sense. If you look at the negative values for standard form indices, you can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros. Whatever the negative value is, the number that you have will have that amount of zeros in front of it with a decimal point after the first 0 in every case. Okay. But if we look on the left hand side with this one here, we've got 10 to the power of 3. So it could lead you to the misconception of saying, oh, I just had 3 zeros. Okay. In this case, I've got 3.5. So that first placeholder move, to go from there to there, okay, is one of my powers of 10. So I've already used one to get to 35. Okay, I'm just going to have 2 more placeholders in there, so it's going to be 3,500. So that one is wrong. Okay, 3,500 is correct. So be careful not to fall into the trap of just putting the number of zeros that the power tells you. especially on positives. Okay, sometimes it will work. These first two will work if you just put the number of zeros on, because it is just a whole number. So let's see what happens. So remember, I've got 3. Remember, my decimal point at the minute is there, and I'm going to move it 6 times. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, and I'm going to fill the numbers in with placeholders. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's going to give me 3 million. 10 to the power of 6 multiplied by 3. Next one. Again, I've got my 4. This time I'm going to move it 2 spaces. 1, 2. Okay, fill in my placeholders. 4 times 10 to the power of 2 will be 400. C. 9.4. Okay, now remember this one. I've got 1 digit that's in my after my decimal, so I can't just add 4 zeros. It's not going to work. Okay, we need to move the decimal 4 places. 1, 2, 3, 4. So my decimal has just moved to there, and I'm going to fill the gap in with placeholders. 1, 2, 3 zeros only. Take that one out. So that would be 94,000. D. I've got 8.8. I'm going to move that 10 to the power of 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Filling it in with placeholders. And my decimal point, remember, has moved now to the end of my number. And the last one, 4.09. 4.09 times 10 to the power of 3. I'm going to move it 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. My decimal point has moved to the end of my number, and I only need to add 1 placeholder. Okay, so hopefully you can see that the number of digits after the decimal place will affect how many placeholders we use. So 4.09 times 10 to the power of 3 is going to be 4090. Let's move on to the last part, which is the negative numbers, and I've put a couple of different ones in here just to give you a feel for how they work. So we've got 1.989 times 10 to the power of 8. So we're moving this decimal quite a bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Fill in any placeholders. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Remember, my decimal is now moved to the end of my number, and that's my value for F. G. We've got 6.69 times 10 to the power of 1. So I'm only going to move it 1 place. So that means my decimal this time is still inside my number. So that's going to give me 66.9. It's moved 1 space from there into there. Okay, so 66.9 is the correct answer for that one. 7.20 times 10 to the power of 0. Now remember, 10 to the power of 0, well, anything to the power of 0 equals 1. So I've got 7.20 multiplied by 1. I'm just multiplying it by itself, and that's going to give me 7.2. Do I need to put the 0 in this case? No, I don't. I can leave the 0 off. So 7.2 or 7.20 is the correct answer. Okay. 2 more to do. So we've got 3.56. Now this time it's raised to the negative power. So I'm going to be moving it that way. Okay, so I'm going to just move that number over a little bit so it gives us a little bit of room. Okay. So we've got 3.56, and I'm moving it 6 spaces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So my decimal point is going to move to that point just there. So let's fill in the place values. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And remember, I need to start it with a 0. And you can see -6, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 zeros. So for the negative values on standard form, it will always match. So we've got last one, 4.23 times 10 to the -2, 1, 2. My decimal is going to move to here. Fill in my place values, 0, 0. And then I've got 4, 2, 3. And that's my answer to the last question. Hopefully that's been useful. Okay, and I'll catch you soon.